Wasabi guys, welcome back to another Magic Market Watch video. For this week, we finally get to talk about some Dominaria United influence and some price changes from the set itself. We're going to be taking a break from the market manipulation discussion. I think it's still present, but we do have plenty to talk about outside of it. So we'll take at least 1 week off. I'll go check on TCG Player, see if the same sellers we've been talking about are doing the same ridiculous things. But for this week, we will have a bit of a reprieve. Yoshimaru Ever Faithful. Now this is a card that actually has genuine interest because it is a legendary 1-mana dog, and it synergizes with legendary permanents. So for that, you're going to see it played in Joda, you're going to see it played in Radidrabic, you're going to see it played in even Jensen Carthalion. You're going to see it played in pretty much any one of these legendary themed commander options, because you do get tremendous value for that 1 mana. It's not a super interesting card, but it could load up on those +1/+1 counters and suddenly become a viable combat threat. It getting above $5 again, it's still in that bulk range. It may not last. It's only as good as the legendary theme around it, and keep in mind it's just a creature that makes itself bigger. At least something like Mana Gorge or Hydra has trample. It is 1 mana, so do keep in mind that is a big reason why it's going up, because it's a legendary thing that you can get off of casting smaller spells with Joda. A card that I did not anticipate being this expensive was Timeless Lotus. I realized that the Lotuses are very popular. Like whenever there's a Lotus that comes out, it seems like that's the next big artifact. I like it, it can tap for all 5 that you need, but it does come into play tapped. I think the real reason why this is already a $20 card is because of the value that you get off of that Teferi Planeswalker that's still legal in Standard. So I believe the combination of the two is the reason why this is so expensive. I don't know how long that's going to last. As far as Commander goes, I mean, it's playable, does come into play tapped, but it is a slower format. You're really just looking for something that can give you all of the mana that you need, but no way would I spend $20 to get it right now. We have Silverback Elder, another one that's been maintaining its value between 10 and 15. I think that's fair. I think it's a better commander card than really anything else, but you could totally see the value in other formats. I would just like to play multiples of these. I know it's 5 mana, it's not super practical to do that in a format like Standard or Pioneer, but could you imagine having multiples of these out there? You cast a creature and you get to choose between these 3 modes twice. Yeah, every time you cast a creature, you could gain 4 life twice. That would be very annoying. If you're going up against a vehicle strategy, you could keep destroying their vehicles. And oh yeah, you have that ramp, which is more relevant in Commander, but it's still something fun that you could do anywhere. It's one of those mythics where I think it's actually pretty cheap right now. I only recommend people go and pick up cards for their Commander decks. I don't recommend people make financial decisions, because that's totally different. So whenever I make a video like this and I recommend people pick up a card, I'm not doing it because it would help their finances. I'm doing it because I think they're getting good value for the card. Like, don't watch these videos to get rich. We have Sheoldred the Apocalypse, which is currently the most expensive card in Dominaria United, and it's close to that 40 mark. I mean, that's very appropriate. The Praetors back in New Phyrexia, I mean, they're still expensive for what they are. And this Sheoldred is even better than the previous Sheoldred because it's only 4 mana, and if you play a draw spell, you have an immediate impact. Your opponents go to their turn, there's an immediate impact. As a commander option, you don't have to spend that much to replay her. That was always the big issue with the Praetors if you wanted to make them commander options, is that you had Vorinclex at 8 mana, you had Jin-Gitaxias at 10 mana? Elesh Norn and Sheoldred were both 7, and Urabrask was the only one at 5. Most of them just were not the optimal commander choice because they were so darn expensive, but Sheoldred here at 4 mana is ridiculous. Her triggers are obnoxious. So 40 I think is very realistic. I think you're going to see it around this price point for a while. Defiler of Vigor being a sub $10 card was not something that I was expecting, but at the same time this isn't going to be as powerful in Commander as it's going to be in other formats like Standard. So it's not going to absolutely dominate in Commander, but that being said, I think it's still going to be a very strong card in those 60 card formats, so it being a sub $10 card, it's great value for the playability. Again, I'm not recommending that anybody go and load up on a card like this. I'm just saying for under $10, I would pick this up for my green decks. And then we have Leyline Binding. This one is a surprise to me. This is already one of the more expensive cards from the set, and I think it has more to do with Standard. The more basic land types you have, the cheaper this spell becomes. It has flash, so if you like Oblivion Ring, you have basically the return of Oblivion Ring that could potentially be cheaper than Oblivion Ring. You do have to play more basic land types, but that's really the only downside. It getting to $10, I think it's a bit premature. We're really going to have to see the strength of this and how it compares to pretty much a lot of the same things in white. It's one of those cards where I think it's a little bit overpriced right now. With Liliana of the Veil, of course, getting a reprint in a Standard expansion, was not expecting it, but she is holding her value pretty well. Her and Sheoldred are right there neck and neck. I think Sheoldred has the advantage though because She's a much hotter card, where with Liliana it feels like we've been there, done that. Don't expect really much to change here because for the mana this is still one of the best planeswalkers ever made. Combine it with so many discard themes in Commander, the relevance in Standard, and you have something that's going to hold its value pretty well. We have Serra Paragon. Now this is one that I said wasn't really the most exciting mythic from the set, but I said it was around a mid-tier mythic. Definitely going to give you the value you're looking for in Standard. Any smaller format where you have a lot of permanent spells, mana value 3 or less, if you can recover those easily, even throw in a little bit of life gain, you have it on a great creature, 3/4 flyer for 4, that's going to play all day. In Commander, it might be less effective, but still going to be a good card. I think right around this price point, it's pretty fair. You get a lot of Mythic Angels that do good things and they just jump up in price. We've seen this happen countless times. And Karn's Silex is one that's a bit surprising. I like it as a hate card in Commander. More so than that removal, I really like that you can hurt decks that pay life for their spells and in order to activate abilities. But I did not see this being a $10+ card out of the gate. I think it's mostly because it does combine it with that good removal and colorless, and we have seen that before. It does have some precedence with cards like Oblivion Stone that used to be a lot more expensive. The value there was that it was colorless removal. With this, you have to be more selective on the mana value, but it's still going to be great. Now we have some losers for the week. We have the Mana Rig. Take these with a grain of salt because we always see this within a week after release. Speculation for just about every card would leave you to believe that everything in the set's like a $15 to $20 card, when in reality you're mostly looking at bulk. I like this card. I think it's going to be useful in, again, multicolored decks, and this acts as a bit of an engine for those decks. But yeah, totally a sub $5 card. I think it's great value. You get those Power Stone tokens tapped, so you keep casting spells, you get to load up on those. Kind of counterintuitive though in a multicolored deck where you would want that, but still decent value when you consider it's only 3 mana. We see a lot of speculation initially. It's very common whenever we get a new set that a Commander option is like $10 to $15, and then after the set releases, you see it go back down below 5. And we have Tetsuo Imperial Champion as an example of this. I like this Commander. This is honestly one of my favorite Commanders from the entire set. It is from the Legends Retold, so it's not going to be released in the main set, but I really do like combining Spellslinger with equipments because it's not something we see a lot of. He's also only 3 mana and has a pretty good damage mode, so you have something that's well-rounded here, could easily hold its own against most other commanders. We have another 3-mana commander from the Commander product, Varic Warped Sengir. This is one I created a how to build video around. Speculation would lead you to believe that people were going to be building around the life cost trigger, but upon release, everyone is kind of monkey see, monkey do. A bunch of people want to play Joda, everyone else does. So usually one commander wins out by a mile compared to other ones like these. I think this is a more interesting commander than Joda. It's also not nearly as powerful, but yeah, I can totally understand why this is now under $3. We also have Kendrick Soul Kindler, another one. An interesting commander, but also not an overpowered one like Joda, Ivy, Gleeful Spell Thief. They're just significantly stronger. Sheoldred, they're easier to build around. Again, I can totally understand why this is now under a $3 card. So that's going to do it for this week's Magic Market Watch. A breath of fresh air for me that I got to talk about so many actual meta-influenced changes in the market. Like things are going up because of actual interest in the cards, not a seller trying to influence. Not saying that it won't continue. We'll probably see even more of it. It'll be more pronounced once we get some downtime after Dominaria United. So unfortunately, I don't think it's solved, but it's something we didn't have to talk about this week, so I'm happy about that. Commander Void here signing off. I will see you all next time.